Welcome back to another New World video. I just want to start off here by saying I'm going to try and give you as much information as I can to help you with doing your M2s and M3s. If anyone who doesn't know, New World changed the highest level of mutations once the expansion came out from M10s. Now we only have M1, M2, and M3. M1 is an absolute walkthrough. I'll be honest, I don't think anybody needs really any help with M1s. As for M2s and M3s, there was a big change that came in the expansion. I actually thought everyone knew this over on my Twitch channel and in the Twitch chat, and as we're playing along and people asking, oh, why is M3 so hard? What's going on? Even M2 is a little bit hard, only a little bit, but M3 is like a really big struggle. What's going on? So basically this video is to just try and give you all that information really quickly, and also some advice and tips on to how to try and basically beat this mechanical change that is coming from New World. So yeah, let's get into that information. Now, really quickly, I just want to thank everybody who watched my 24-hour charity live stream playing New World over on my Twitch channel. On the launch of the expansion, we did 24 hours. I started really in a bad way. I was already awake for 8 hours before the event even started. That was really rough. But basically, yeah, I was going to show the stats on screen. You can see it now. We raised a massive £1,220 for the cancer charity. So guys, honestly, thank you so much. That's amazing. Loads of you came and watched and lurked and chatted and jumped in Discord with me and kept me awake. Really do appreciate that. So yeah, 1,220 plus the IRL company I work for, they've also chucked in £500 as well. So that takes us up to £1,720 raised in 24 hours streaming New World over on my Twitch channel. So thank you so much, guys. Right, let's get into the patch notes. So this is one of the little things that I thought everybody knew, but clearly going off all the people in my Twitch channel right now, in the chat, yeah, not everybody knows this. Right, so here's the change. In M1s, it's absolutely normal, okay? We all know about M1s. You basically got a 650 gear score sort of cap you want to go past or at least on before you join. And then obviously everything that happens in mutations, you know, like if it's a fire mutation, rock up all your fire gems, your ruby gems in your armor and stuff like that. Okay, you all know those basics. Right, now when it goes to M2, here's the change. So it's a 675 gear score recommendation. So obviously you want to make sure you're over that. Again, standard. Hopefully everybody knows that. And if it's a fire mutation, you know to use your fire gems in your armor. Ice mutation, ice gems in your armor, so on. Now the change here starts at M2. 50% of all of the weaken and rend that you apply to mobs basically gets deleted. Okay, now if anybody doesn't know what rend and weaken is, let's speak about it. So basically, for any percentage of rend that you apply, either from basically like the perk on a weapon or how the skill works itself, you can read all of this. We'll give some information in a second. You apply that to a mob for rend, and basically that percentage, you then do that percentage more damage to the mobs. Okay, so basically you apply as much rend as you can to a mob, and then all of your damage gets increased basically by that percentage, and yeah, you kill the mobs faster. When it comes to weaken, the more weaken percentage you can apply works the same ways from your weapons and from your weapon perks and stuff like that, and your skill trees. The more weaken you apply to that mob, the less damage they then do to you. So basically, in every single dungeon, in every single, well, even in PvP to be honest, but in every single PvE dungeon, just in general, you should be trying to obviously do as much damage as you possibly can. This is all standard. But you want to be applying as much weaken and as much rend to those mobs as physically possible. So in M2s, everything you apply is reduced by half. If you apply 10 weaken, it's now only 5 weaken. You get it, right? Same with rend. You apply 10 rend, it's now only 5 rend. Again, people seem to be getting past that. I think we're all okay. Most people doing M2s right now, unless you're absolutely brand new to the game, we're not really struggling with M2s. That's okay. We're getting past that. It's slowing the dungeon down just a little bit because obviously, you know, you have to dodge a little bit more than average. You have to pot a little bit more than average because obviously the mobs are hitting you harder, and obviously you're not doing as much damage to the mobs because your rend isn't as effective. Now, when we get into M3s, this is where it gets a little bit harder. So obviously the recommendation for gear score is 695. So you've got to hit that or go above. We all know that. And the same applies if it's a fire dungeon. Make sure you're using your fire gems on your armor. These are all the standard things. Now, the rend and weaken mechanical change that came in with the patch for the expansion is in M3s is 75% reduction in weaken and rend. 75%. That is huge. You know, that's huge. If you're applying 100 rend to a mob, it's only effective at 25 rend. The same for weaken. That is what is making these M3s so much harder. So the mobs are taking a heck of a lot longer to kill than they normally will be, because again, 75% of the rend you're applying to these mobs is basically getting deleted. And then obviously the mobs and the I just want to specify, sorry, because I have said mobs a few times. Sorry. Let me just stop this part of the video. It's the bosses, okay? All the boss mobs in the dungeons, okay? Not the generic trash mobs. Sorry, I've said mobs a few times. I mean the bosses, okay? Just so we're 100%, you know, we're on this, right? So the bosses are having this reduction. So when you come to a boss fight in M3, 75% of the rend that you apply is being deleted, basically, and 75% of the weaken you apply is basically being deleted. So that is the reason why you're struggling. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring up a graphic for both weaken and rend. I've been through some useful information on some of the really good New World Discords, and then I've gone into the game and double checked it, and I've checked all the perks to make sure the percentages are up to date. But I'm going to give you basically a top 5 for ways to apply weaken and top 5 ways to apply rend. So basically, you can look at all of these perks and skill trees I'm about to show you now, and do as much rend as you possibly can, and do as much enfeebling as you possibly can. Basically, weakening. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So let's start off with weaken. So the more weaken you apply, as we said before, the less damage the boss mobs in the M3s and the M2s will do to you, okay? So you want to apply as much as possible because it's getting reduced a lot. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So let's start off with weaken. We've got a top 5 here. I'm going to quickly explain them all, and then you can go out there and get these all in your builds, and hopefully this will help you so much. So 47% is the most amount of weaken that you can apply from anywhere, and that comes from enfeebling skewer. This is a perk on the spear. So obviously when you get weapon perks like enfeebling skewer, the percentage changes from the weapon than it does the armor. So if it is a spear perk and you apply this to your armor, it would be less, for example. Okay, so you know that. Right, I'm going to quickly show you just one spear. For example, this is one that I farmed. This is Life Ring Spear. You can search this on New World Database if you like. You basically get it from the top of Malevolence. And as you can see here, you can upgrade this and it gets enfeebling skewer. And there we go, 47%. As you can see there, weaken. That's the most you can apply in the game from any single source. 30% you can get from Perforate. So if you land all 3 hits on Perforate, and this is from Impactful Strikes. So you've got Perforate here over on the build. Once you upgrade this down to Impactful Strikes, you will then get your 30% of weaken, so long as you land all 3 hits on that mob. Now up next in 3rd place is also 30%, so joint second if you like. This is Spark of Mjolnir. Now this is not currently in the game as of the recording of this video. We need to wait for the Lazarus mutations to come out, and then we can farm this from that. But essentially, this is also 30%. So when you apply Mighty Gavel, when you use that skill, you'll apply 30% weaken. This was 50% in the PTR for the expansion, but it's been nerfed. Now over to the flail. So if you're using a flail, maybe you're a healer, or maybe you're a tank and you're using a flail as an off. It's not really my favorite, but hey, whatever. You can also apply 30% weaken as well, because you can see that it stacks 3 times from the spiky impairment. So on your skill tree, you'll have to make sure you got spiky impairment in there, and you can apply 30% weaken as well. Now coming in 5th place for weaken, there's 3 different weapon perks I found that will apply 27%. Okay, so we've got enfeebling maelstrom. So you got to use the maelstrom skill on the great axe and get enfeebling maelstrom as the perk on the great axe, and you get 27% weakening. You've also got enfeebling skewer again. So if for whatever reason you just can't get enfeebling skewer on your spear, you can put enfeebling skewer on the armor, and you'll also get 20% weakening. Quick note here though, you cannot stack the weapon perk and the armor perk. So don't have enfeebling skewer on your spear and your armor. That doesn't work. Okay, don't do that. It also shows you that in game now. It now says 1 out of 1. Also at 27% is enfeebling poison shot. Now bows aren't really used in M3 dungeons right now. I'm just letting you know this in case you find a way to put it into your team builds or whatever. You can get 27% enfeebling from poison shot. Now, a honorable mention as well is the brutal heart rune of grasping vines. That will apply 20% weaken and 20% rend. Now on to rend. Okay, so same as what we've just been giving you there for weaken, but I'm going to give you like the top 5 and a lot of honorable mentions here for rend. We're going to start off with Sundering Javelin. Now this is a weapon perk for the spear. You have to use the javelin skill itself, which is not very good. It's a single target throwing of a javelin. It's not great. However, if you want to just know the percentages here, 40% is Sundering Javelin. That is huge. A little bit of a caveat. It only works when the mob or the boss, for example, is above 50% health. Once that boss goes below 50% health, Sunder and Javelin will no longer apply rend. Also, in a perfect, like, sort of DPS setup for a spear, you wouldn't even use Sunder and Javelin. But I'm just letting you know, in case for whatever reason you had to work that in. And coming in at number 2 is Armor Breaker's Lasting Trauma skill upgrade here, as you can see here on the skill tree. This will give you 30%. You don't need any perk enabled to your armor or to your weapon. This will just give you 30% if you use this skill. You can hit multiple mobs with this, as long as you sort of angle it right. You can hit a couple different mobs. It looks like it only hits one mob, but I've definitely hit multiple mobs with this, so this is quite decent. And over to number 3 on rend will be Sundering Clear Out. So the perk for Clear Out changed on the expansion, which is nice. It's now called Sundering Clear Out. If you put this on the actual Warhammer, the skill perk on the Warhammer, you'll get 25%. And again, you can also hit multiple mobs with this. This is a pretty good one. Now, technically coming in 4th, this kind of is a little bit similar to Sundering Javelin, where you wouldn't technically use this, but Sundering Riposte. So on the actual rapier, you can get 25% rend if you use Sundering Riposte. But for that, you need the actual sort of like mob to definitely be hitting you. And if you're not tanking, yeah, in a DPS build, basically what I'm trying to say, for a rapier, a DPS build, you wouldn't actually really use Sundering Riposte. But you can, if for whatever reason you're putting this in your build, you can get 25% as long as you put Sundering Riposte on the spear. But again, sorry, on the rapier. But with the best rapiers in the game, you wouldn't use this. But I'm just letting you know anyway. You can also get 16% if you put this perk on the armor. You're not likely to use this though because of the artifact of finisher, but hey, I'm giving you the information. So technically coming in at 4th is Sunder and Javelin again, but this is if you apply it to the armor. 21% of rend you can get if you apply this to the armor. But again, this is a bit of an awkward one because you wouldn't really use Javelin, but hey, I'm just giving you the information. And then, like we were saying before, you get 20% from the Rend and Vines heart rune that we mentioned. Also 20% from Rending Throw from using the hatchet skill. Just using Rend and Throw, you can apply 20%. And now I've got a bunch of honorable mentions, okay? So 30% you can get from Perforate. So like we said before with Weaken, you can also get 30%. There you go. With Rupturing Strikes, you can also get 30% as long as you hit the mob 3 times. That will stack up to 30%. But again, it's only when that mob or that boss or whatever you're hitting is above 50% health. Once they go below 50% health, this goes down to basically the standard 15%. So it's an honorable mention because you'll be using Perforate if you're using the spear all the time anyway. Now, 20% comes from Trapped Damage Musket skill tree. Now, I will be absolutely flabbergasted if you have a musket in your PvE M3 mutation runs, but giving you information, it's in there, okay? More honorable mentions. We got Sunder and Shockwave, but this time if you put it on the weapon, you will get 15% and you'll get 10% if you put it on the armor. But back over to the flail now. You've got 15%. This is a flail skill tree upgrade. It's called You've Got Flail. You can apply 15% if you're using that. Now, the only way this works, though, is if the targets are already weakened. But again, especially when this is a boss fight, 100% of the time you should have some form of weaken being applied, so this should work if you're using a flail. And then a really good honorable mention, so this is technically Sword and Shield. Now if you're playing Sword and Shield as a DPS or even as a tank, you can definitely use Whirling Blade. Also, when it comes to the best sword that you can use in the game, the Butcher right now, or when it is in the game, when it comes out with Dynasty Mutations, you'll definitely be using Whirling Blade. When you use the opportunity upgrade here, as you can see now, Whirling Blade inflicts 15% rend for 10 seconds. That's actually one of the longest in the game, 10 seconds, or it's up there with some of the longest in the game. Now, you can also hit multiple mobs with this. If there are 10 mobs right in front of you, all on you, you can pretty much hit them all unless there's 1 or 2 in the back of the stacks, right? And then over to Achilles Heel. The third attack on your light attack chain will also apply 15% rend. It's only for 2 seconds, but as a Sword and Shield player, you will be doing your light attack chain over and over again. You'll be spamming, basically, Whirling Blade. You'll be spamming Shield Rush, because that applies weakens as well. So, to round up this video, in M2s, 50% of any weaken and rend that you apply to the bosses, sorry if I said mobs earlier in the video, bosses, basically gets deleted, which means you need to stack even more if you want to basically have the mobs hurt you less, and you do more damage to the bosses. The same goes for M3, but this time it is 75%. So essentially, you need to go out there and you need to stack weaken it as easy as you possibly can if you want to make this easy for you. Another little tip is obviously just for now, whilst you're playing, maybe move up to 50 con, or if you're really struggling, another little tip is you could move up to 100 con. This is not really what you want to be doing in the long term. I'm talking about DPS players here. Obviously, if you're a tank, you might be running 200 con, 250, 300. I'm kind of talking DPS players here. and healers. You want to be running as low con as possible so you can do more damage with your attribute points elsewhere. Other little things you can do as well. For example, if you look at my build here, I am using the featherweight jacket. I made a video about this. Basically what this means is, as a light sword and shield player, I can actually stack some medium gloves, some medium pants, and some medium boots here. And overall, as you can see here, I stay in light, which means I get the most amount of damage I possibly can, with the base damage being plus 20%. There's other things you can do. The blood drinker ring at the moment, which is dropping from Starstone. So make sure you get that by Tuesday the 17th, or else you're gonna have to wait about a month to get this. You can also get a lot of leeching from this, which means basically you're stacking up your own health. So even though the bosses are hitting you a lot harder, you're also healing yourself a lot more, which is good. I tested this as well, and weirdly it only removes like 11% of my damage, not 25. So it's not actually as bad as it looks, but the leeching effects from it is really, really good. But basically, I just wanted to give everybody this information on the weakening and the Ren changes for M2s and M3s. If you're struggling, or even if you're still getting those M3 golds, but it's just taking a heck of a lot longer, like an hour in Tempest rather than say half an hour or 25 minutes like it used to back in the M10s. This is why this change came into the game for the expansion. Hopefully now you all know about it, and there we go, guys. Hopefully this video was useful. If it was, please subscribe to my channel. If you like this kind of content, drop a comment down below. All that kind of stuff. Come and check me out over on Twitch, guys. Oh, one little mention on Twitch. We are nearly 8,000 followers. The streams have been smashing it. We applied for Twitch partner, but they want me to hit 75 viewers average for every single stream, not just like some of them where I get 100 and some of them where I get 50, and we average at 75. So if you guys want to come and help me get Twitch partner and all that kind of stuff, come and lurk in my channel. Come and ask me as many questions as you want. Let's play New World together online over on Twitch. Sub to me here, and I'll see you in the next video.